Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. What's going on, everyone? Good morning, good morning. And today we will be covering Nappy Headed Jojoba in her video. Anyone else sick of how we talk about colorism, right? Now, Nappy Headed Jojoba is one of the young women I would say is definitely a lefty, of course, um, but isn't the most toxic with the rhetoric. We'll say that. I will say that about her. Um, but on this one, though, and the conquered males talk, oh, beautiful, right? Let them talk long enough, right? Now, it remains to be seen whether Nappy Headed Jojoba sits something like that as her like little jab to black men. Um, it remains to be seen if that was her way of saying, haha, see how it feels. The young lady is definitely intelligent enough to kind of not say something like that by accident or by happenstance. Like it wasn't an accident, is what Mr. Z is saying. This is definitely calculated on purpose. Just remember, Nappy and Hoba is now using the conquering talk. All right. So the title of my video is Colorism Talk is about desirability. Nappy headed Hoba, it's almost always about desirability. That's why you covered it the way you did. Yes, the colorism talk is see, Nappy headed Hoba went across a myriad of different subjects or things that harm darker skinned people, darker skinned black people in particular. She did, right? But to be very clear, the women that we are referring to don't have a systemic analysis about how colorism affects their outcomes outside of intimacy and desirability. They don't care about any of that. And that, for the most part, these ladies do not care about any of that. What they care about is whether their skin tone and their hair texture and their features block them or hinder them from having access to men with money and status. Whether their features and their skin tone and their hair texture can be put up on a pedestal right next to, actually elevated above, the white woman European beauty standard. That is what they care about. And Nappy Headed Hoba knows that. And no, Nappy Headed Hoba, that's not going to change anytime soon. Yes, the colorism conversation has everything to do with desirability and how darker skinned black women feel as if they're been treated compared to lighter skinned black women, racially ambiguous black women, and non-black women. You bringing up prison statistics or how people see darker skin as older, or people see darker skin as, and they'll remember it as something more negative. These women do not care about any of that. Not on the macro anyway. In the micro, to them individually, when they run into a situation that exists because of their darker skin tone, yes, as an individual. But on a macro sense, the only thing black women, darker skinned black women care about on a macro sense when it comes to colorism is the fact that in their mind, it hinders them. It hinders them from being with the ballers, namely the white ballers. But of course, y'all limit colorism to black men talk because black men are the most colorist group of men in America, on the planet, in the universe. Well, in the galaxy, then the universe, right? The black community is arguably the most egalitarian community in America. And to speak about black men as if they are these colorist Nazis, to speak about black men, right, as if they are not accepting, the most accepting men in America when it comes to everything, from especially accepting of black women, right, as if they're not so accepting of everything from various shapes to various shades, right? To various features and textures. To speak about black men as if they're not those men is to be disingenuous at best and a straight up liar at worst. Where else are you going to find egalitarian men, black men's level in America? Where? In America, at least. Where? East Asian men? South Asian men? Oh, you want to talk about some Latino men? Shit. White men? Yeah, right. Indigenous men, if you could find one, maybe. Speak about black men as if they are these colorist, featurist, texturist Nazis is either to be myopic, which nappy but isn't, or to be disingenuous, or to be a straight up liar. And for somebody as intelligent as nappy head and hobo, it's not ignorant. Right? So nappy head and hobo on this video just called black men conquered flippantly, and then claim that the passport bros conversation is about self-hating black males. Y'all notice she kept on saying black males because she wants to make a distinction between men and males. And once again, black women thinking they're the ones who get to define what manhood is. Oh, do y'all really want to have this conversation with a bunch of black quote unquote women, these little girls in women's bodies running around here still mad about who didn't want them when they were 14, 15, and 16? Y'all really want them to start making distinctions? Nappy headed jojoba, do you really want to start making distinction between men and males? Do you know how easy it will be to make the distinction between little girls and 45-year-old women's bodies? 40-year-old women's bodies, 35, 30-year-old women's bodies, still railing against boys that didn't find them attractive in middle school and high school? You think that's not what it is? You know how many of these content creators then got caught up? When I was 16, what? It all started when I was 15, what? That's cute, that little males men thing. Stop. You don't want to have that conversation because you're going to have egg on your face when you realize how many black women are really railing against the boys that didn't find them attractive when they were 17 years old. You know, the underage children, you're a teenager, you're still a child, the underage children that didn't find them attractive 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago. Y'all keep thinking that these women are having good faith conversations about skin tone and how it affects them in this overall racist white American society. That is not where they're coming from. Yes, it is about desirability. From childhood on up. I'm saying teenage years. These women could go back to 8 years old on you, 7 years old. If you doubt me, go ask Ostefko. Oops. Right? So nappy-headed Hoba says it. Nappy-headed Hoba knows that these women don't want passport bros. Right? She knows that. These women want white men, nappy-headed Hoba. Yes, this is about desirability. This is about quote unquote treatment in this white supremacist society. This is not about some black man being dusty. This is about black women wanting to be elevated socially, politically, definitely economically in this society. They want white womanhood, a very particular white womanhood, upper middle class, rich or elite white womanhood. That's what this is about. That's what the colorism conversation is about. That's why it's so easy to transition the colorism conversation into the conversation about black women in luxury, about the conversation, Yes, the conversation about hypergamy. That's why it's so easy to transition conversations about black women and colorism and featureism and texturism and desirability into the conversation about black women in luxury and black women in hypergamy. Because it is about desirability, particularly being desired by the man, white men. Not a man, but the man. And to ignore that and to play it down is to be disingenuous at best. No, this is not about darker skin tone and how it affects you and in your employment. No, this is not about darker skin tone and how it affects you, when it comes to anything you have that medical, right? Any illness. No, that is not what these black women are talking about, like ever. Yes, it has everything to do with desirability, money, status in this society. And not the amount of money a darker skinned black woman can earn for herself. No, the amount of money some simp ass, lame ass, loser ass, white, black, Latino, Asian, indigenous man can afford her. That's what this is about. Yes, at the end of the day, it comes to treatment and jealousy of upper middle class white women and their ability to practice negative liberty. That's what this is about. So we understand that these women don't want these passport bros too. Fine. These darker skinned black women, the ones that we're referring to, don't find passport bros appealing either. Okay, fine. Then what's wrong with passport bros going overseas to find women that do find them appealing? If they're not appealing to many darker skinned black women in America, then what's wrong with them going somewhere else? Which is interesting because many of the passport bros are going to Africa and, ending up with darker skinned black women. Uh-oh. Going to the Caribbean and ending up with darker than a brown paper bag black women. Yikes. Talk about colorism, right? Ending up with black women with, 4C kinky curly hair. Uh-oh. 3C hair. 3C hair is a thing, right? Isn't that the even tighter curls? Mr. Z doesn't remember. Either way. To speak about black men, once again, black men in America, as if they're these texturous, featurous, colorist Nazis. In America, with the South Asian community being in America, with the East Asian community being in America, with the Latino community being in America, with white society being in America, to speak about black men like there's some next level colorist in America, black men being arguably the most egalitarian group of men in America. All the online dating numbers and statistics show black men will date and marry just about anybody. All different type of shapes. Okay, thank you, Toya. And Toya says 3C is curly, wavy, and 4C is the kinkiest. Okay, so I had it correct the first time. All right. All right. And to speak about black men like they're these colorist Nazis. Boy, if I Thanos snap black men out of America today, I wonder what would black women do? Who would you complain about then? Right? And to say and in her comments backed her up on the black men are like the Nazis or the white supremacists of the black community type talk. Meanwhile, we have these whole wannabe Milton Friedman, Ayn Rand ass black women running around the black community. All these hyper capitalists. You're a lefty, nappy at home, but you're a lefty. No one says anything in the black community about all these wannabe Steve Jobs, wannabe Milton Friedman, wannabe Ayn Rand, wannabe Margaret Thatcher as black women running around the black community. Not a single one of you. You don't say nothing. Kim Foster don't say anything. Khadijah doesn't say anything. FD Signifier doesn't say anything. None of you say anything. Quiet. Mum's the word. Juicy makes tacit. She speaks about it just a smidge, just a little bit. All these supposed level up coaches, lifestyle branding all over YouTube coming from black women. Y'all don't have nothing to say. And at the base of it is black men ain't ish because they didn't provide us the lifestyle that upper middle class white women have. And y'all talk about colorism. Get out of here. Because if we dig further enough to see what colorism is, conversation is really about, yes, we end up at desirability. Because it's about desirability for these people. And your little lightweight implying that it is because you know that's what it is. You're little trying to shame them. You're not shaming them because you're being so super surface level subtle. See, you really went in when you were going in on black men, but that surface level quote unquote critique of why these women speak about colorism always in the desirability spectrum is because that's all they care about. That's all they care about. That's what the colorism conversation is about. It's about what man can I get access to that's going to fund my life. That's what it's about. That's what it's always been about. Is my darker skin tone, is my hair texture, are my features going to hinder me from being with the baller men or at least the stable men who are going to fund my life? That's what it's about. That's why you don't hear these women bring up anything about how darker skin tones in America blocks their access to anything else because they don't care about anything else. And y'all conflate a whole lot of colorism conversation with racism, straight up white supremacy on top of that. How much are black men blocking you from jobs? Or is it just white men who also may have an issue with darker skin tone? And they're the ones with the power. Oops. Whoever said white men aren't colorists. Whoever said white men aren't colorists. Whenever I see a white man, he's with a darker skinned black woman. Are you sure? All the time? All right. Darker skinned black woman all the time? Okay. Nappy Hoba goes on to speak about colorism and its effects on the self-esteem of little black girls and boys. Nappy Hoba, you've had your channel for a little while now. The concern that you show for these colorism conversations and its effects on little black girls and boys. Let's be honest, little black girls. Let's cut the crap. The reason why men and boys give black women such as yourself that feigned concern, the middle finger, is because you're nowhere to be found when we start speaking about black women, particularly on the internet, calling black men nakers. Where are you? Nowhere to be found. Calling black men dusties. You're nowhere to be found, right? You're nowhere to be found when we frame the conversation about black men and black women, particularly in the space of intimacy, as if black women are always on the right side of history and they're always morally correct. You're nowhere to be found. Kim Foster's nowhere to be found. As a matter of fact, she's probably throwing salt in the game for black men, right? Or on black men, better yet. All of you are nowhere to be found. Anybody do a video essay or expose on, all of these level up women? No. These hypergamy black women? No. Where are y'all? This is why this is not a real conversation. It's not a real conversation. We care about black people. It's not a real conversation. These passport bros and their colorism, it's not a real conversation. passport bros are mainly going to the Caribbean, South America, and Africa. That's where they're mainly going. Yes, some are going to Southeast Asia. And you know where they're going? To places with melanated people. You know, darker skinned people, sometimes black people. You know, darker skinned black women with kinkier hair. Most passport bros, their issue isn't black women's skin tone. Their issue is black women's attitude. You know, the snarkiness, being mean and getting off on it, being condescending and getting off on it, wanting to be a white woman, you know, a upper middle class, asshole, entitled brat, white woman. It's not your skin tone, dear dark skinned black women, for the 1 zillionth time ever. For the vast majority of black men, it is not your skin tone. It's your attitude. You know, the resentment that you feel because you're not an upper middle class white woman and you don't get to practice negative liberty the way they do. So you project all of your insecurities and angers and your resentments on black men and black boys. And then say black men and black boys that will have none of it are colorist. Because the light-skinned black woman gets to be an asshole. Why can't I be an asshole? I want to be an asshole too. The racially ambiguous black woman gets to be an asshole. And black men pay her to be it. They still date her. They still have sex with her. They still find her desirable. I want to be like her too. Meanwhile, there's a whole lot of light-skinned black women in the hood that's like, actually. Actually. That's what the colorism conversation is about. Yes, nappy-headed hobo. Yet one more time. Yes, it is about desirability. It is about the resources that men provide, beginning, end. Everything else is a non-starter. I'm not saying that these people shouldn't care about that. I'm saying they don't care about that. And if you talk to any one of these darker skinned black women, heavier set black women, septum ring nose having black women, ooh, goddamn. Talk to them long enough and we get to desirability land because that's what it's about. Why can't I be an asshole like the upper middle class white woman? Why can't I be an asshole like what I feel like the light skinned black woman gets to get away with? Or the racially ambiguous looking black woman? Or the quote unquote exotical? You know, that comes from Chrissy, the black woman y'all refuse to address that speaks about colorism and hypergamy and lifestyle content all the time. Yeah, that one. Right? And there you go, DC. Thank you. Good morning. And DC says, greetings from the outer rim. What's going on, DC? He says, peace to the chat. Salute, Z. Yes, it's true. Colorism is primarily a desirability and treatment argument within our forced classification. And that's all it is. And to speak about it in any other way is just plain old disingenuous. Once again, yes, nappy-headed hobo went through the different ways darker skin tone people are treated in our society when it comes to their outcomes with health, when it comes to their outcomes with jobs, when it comes to their outcomes of how people see them in our society, how much negative stereotypes we are more likely to lob on to darker skinned people. She is correct about all of that. All of that. Guess what? That is not what these women are talking about. That's not what they're speaking about. Yes, it's about desirability and what ballerific man will spend money on them. And that's what it's going to continue to be about. Because it's very interesting watching these people try to nibble at the edges of this conversation between black men and black women. And that just comes straight up the middle and say, okay, black women have an issue with the fact that they done went to college, got their degree, are in 50, 60, 100, 120, $250,000 in student loan debt. They were promised a lifestyle. They got middle management jobs for the vast majority of them. They were subtly suggested that they would have a lifestyle comparable to upper middle class white women, and they don't got it. And that's the issue. Everything else is just blowing smoke. It's gaslighting, right? And y'all like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. That's what this conversation's about. It's about access to the men with resources. And if you're not attracted to non-black men, primarily white men, then yes, it's about black men. Yes, it's about Diddy, J-Lo, and Kim Porter. Yeah, right? That's what it's about. That's what all of this quote unquote preference talk is about. It's funny listening to y'all mock the term or the word preference. Listening to black women mock the word preference when it comes to black men. Meanwhile, they're telling you so overtly, like, if you're not a baller, no romance without finance, right? While they throw non-black men in your face and how supposedly non-black men treat non-black women, buy them everything. Because, every non-black man is rolling in the dough and spending $2,000 and $3,000 on dates and $2,000 and $3,000 on shopping sprees and $5,000 on shopping sprees. And these people then turn around and mock you for having a quote unquote preference. And this is disappointing coming from Nappy Headed Hoba. She should know better. That's why I know it's disingenuous, because you're not dumb. Watching y'all tie yourselves into pretzels, refusing. I'm all over y'all channels, refusing to be honest about why black women have an issue with black men right now in this society, right now in this time. Because they're not white women. Because black men haven't made them white women, politically, socially, and economically. And no, it's not just your conservative black women. Yes, your hypocritical, liberal black women. You talk to them long enough, and we end up where the wallet is. It's all about the money. That's what it's about. Like I said to y'all, I don't critique necessarily the unintelligent. No, it's black women like Nappy Headed Hoba and Kim Foster and T Noir and Khadijah that helped carry the soap for the Chrissies and the Yannies and the Lexus Exoduses and the Paris Milans. Because the people that oftentimes, not all the times, but oftentimes, the people that are subscribed to Chrissy are subscribed to Nappy Headed Hoba. The ones that are subscribed to Yanni are subscribed to Kim Foster. The ones that are subscribed to Khadijah, they are subscribed to Lexus Exodus. Yes. You're looking for consistency. Stop it. It's about feeling. It's about having someone articulate for them how black men are falling short because black men haven't made them upper middle class white women. So yes, even if these people aren't exactly in the same space on the political spectrum, their subscribers, yes, will go from listening to Chrissy to listening to Khadijah. Anyone that will reaffirm to them that what they're feeling is real, and yes, it's black men's fault. Right? So yes, Napiero, but this is about treatment. This is about desirability. Right? This is about desirability. And if we're going to speak about the children, little black girls and black boys, then do you really want to have the conversation about these boys being raised oftentimes by their single mothers, that they're defective black little girls and defective white little boys at the same time, simultaneously, that they will always be on the wrong side of history in relationship to black women, to black girls, that their goal in life and their job in life should be to be a walking wallet and overglorified guard dog for black women as they age. If you want to talk about the children in the black community, black girls and black boys, and how they're raised and the negative effects of colorism, when do we start speaking about how these little boys are raised, that they are defective white men and defective black women simultaneously? Do you want to have that conversation? Do you really want to have the conversation so we can walk backwards to why the Passport Bros exist? Y'all want to start the conversation off at like 15, 14, 13 years old. You don't want to walk it all the way back to the conversations that black boys are privy to as children. You don't want to have that conversation, right? You don't want to have the conversation about how what black boys are privy to, listening to their mothers and their aunts and their grandmothers speak about men. Y'all speak like these black boys are born and raised in a vacuum. No. Whether their mom is in the suburbs or whether she's in the hood, they overheard how mom speaks about men. Yes, even mom that's married. Right? And yet we're supposed to have a good faith effort about a good faith conversation about colorism. Right? Not yet all, but also, yes, you speak as if women, yes, even your own subscribers are not self-hating females, if you want to use the Mel's phrase. Right? As if they're not self-hating. Right? You speak about these women like they're like the men are self-hating, but the women are not. Right? And yes, Napier Hoba did speak, yes, black women can also be colorist. She did that. But the self-hating part, and more importantly, the self-hating and then projecting that onto black men. Black men are walking around here, middle class black men, working class black men, walking around here with heavy set sisters, dark skinned sisters, sisters with very West African features. And yet, Napi Hedohoba speaks about colorism. Chrissy speaks about colorism. These people refuse to have the conversation of what did centuries of white colonialism do to the minds of black women and how they think about black men and how they think they can talk to and talk about black men. Translation, said differently, it's your attitude. Everyone's saying it's your attitude. Black men are saying it's your attitude. White men are saying it's your attitude. Latino men are saying it's your attitude. Everyone's saying it's your attitude, and black women are like, no, it's our weight. And it could be. No, it's our hair texture. No, it's our skin tone. Right? No, dear black women, yes, darker skinned black women also, you're raised in the black community. The black community is a matriarchy if we want to be kind, a gynocracy if we want to be accurate. And so you're used to being able to say whatever you want to say and be insulting to black men and be belittling and snarky and be straight up assholes. And that's where the passport bros come in. And that's why your dating situation is horrible. Yes, racism. Okay, fine, colorism. But really, your attitude, you're used to being boss hog in the black community. And the second you step out of the black community, or the second you step to any black man with any stability, that shit don't fly. Then you rail against black men and other men screaming colorism. Could it be colorism? Yes. Would you know? No. Why? Because you're an asshole. How about you lose the asshole attitude first, and then let's have a conversation about colorism? How about we don't get off on being snarky for no reason, unwarranted sass for no reason? How about we turn that down a couple of notches? How about we not be jealous of white women because we feel like they're able to practice negative liberty in a way we're not? And then maybe we can have a conversation about colorism. How about that? But no, black women, that includes darker skinned black women, want to be mean and condescending and snarky and sassy for no reason. And when black men respond to them a particular way, then blame it on colorism. We have content creators that openly admit that they started dating out of their race pretty much from the beginning. And now they have whole channels dedicated to colorism and hypergamy and you know, black women level up content. But they make their bread and butter off of speaking about colorism, or at least they used to make their bread and butter off of speaking about colorism. Was it really about colorism? Right. And Bruce Wayne, y'all toujours playing. Toujours. And I just told Bruce Wayne they're always complaining. They're always complaining. The particular content creator I'm speaking of, Chrissy, she started a magazine and black men helped to fund it. She started a magazine speaking about colorism or promoting darker skinned black women, and black men helped to fund that. Right? Black men helped to fund that. Because wait for it, black men like darker skinned black women too. We find Naomi Campbell attractive too. We find Kelly Rowland attractive too, and Bria Miles. There's a whole lot of dark skinned black women. Lupita, we find them very attractive. The young lady who they made fun of when they showed her lips. Toya, you remember they showed it was an African sister, they showed her lips on an advertisement, and all these white dudes started trying to be racist towards her and say racist comments, and black men and black women got all of those dudes together. You know, that was a dark skinned black woman with beautiful lips, with full lips, you know, black features. Yeah, the black features that y'all say we rail against. Featureism, but we like fat asses. Featureism, but we like nice full lips. Huh. Wait a minute. Isn't that one of the stereotypes about black women is their bodies. Black men then dedicated whole songs to black women's bodies. That includes dark-skinned black women. Huh. Interesting. Right? These people have emotional arrested development. They are stuck somewhere when they were 12 and 15 and 17 years old. Emotionally, you talk to them long enough, and high school and middle school are going to come out. We're not speaking about a 23-year-old speaking about when she was 16 years old. No, we're speaking about 35-year-olds and 40-year-olds, 45-year-olds, going right back to when they were 16 and 15 and 14, and the black boys that did not find them desirable. Right? Trell, I'm not even. I'm not even. I knew there was something up with that story. That's why I didn't cover it. I know many of you told me to check it out, and I did, and I'm something ain't right. Something's not right. Right? These people truly do have emotional arrested development, and none of you will address it. None of you. I presented that to FD Signifier, and he truly looked like intrigued, like, huh, I never thought about that. What, you never thought that we have 38-year-old black women running around here still mad about who didn't find them attractive when they were 16? They're saying it, right? You just gotta, if you watch their channels long enough, if you read through their comments, occasionally you'll slip out. You know who needed a hug? 16-year-old me. Yanni, a whole 31 years old. She made that video probably when she was 30. You know who needed a hug? 16-year-old me. You're 30 years old, lady. I had to go to prom with the white guy because when I was in high school, not only did the black jocks weren't checking for me, the black nerds weren't. Kim Foster, early 30s. Speaking about going to prom with the white guy because the black guys weren't interested in high school. You mean boys weren't interested in you in high school? The black boys? Right? Khadijah, Ostefco, all of these people. Ostefco telling you she smiled when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock because black boys bullied her about her hair and her features when she was a child. I think she went all the way back to when she was like 8 years old or something like that. But either way, when she was a child, this is a woman approaching her 40s. I said it. Dear Nappy and Hoba, these people are not having a good faith conversation. Maybe because you're a bit more mature. That's not where you are mentally. That's not where you are emotionally. That's where they are, though. And women like you cover for them. And why that's important is because women like Ostefco become teachers. Uh-oh. Women like Ostefco become therapists. Yikes. Women like Ostefco become news anchors, Tiffany Cross. They become pundits. And they make off-color comments. They marry white racist men. And then when they say something, all black women got to start covering for them. They're bitter, angry women who's mad that they walked in on their husband cheating on them. Shout out to Gail King. Goddamn, Mr. Z. Once again, this is not about darker skinned black people, namely darker skinned black women, and how they're features and how their skin tone affects their job opportunities and career path, how it affects their health outcomes, how it affects their, if they do have an issue with the law and how it affects that. This is not about that. This is about desirability. Nappy headed hobo, it's always been about desirability. Always. And your little lightweight, half ass, kid glove way of attempting to maybe try to inch the women over and shame them just a smidge, it's not good enough. It's not. Right? It's very interesting how FD signifier came up in the black manosphere attempting to tone police black men. And yet we watch as everyone either straight up ignore the Nazi language coming from black women, ignore the verbal abuse, the insults, or at best, if you do address it, everyone's tiptoeing. Oh, I don't want to invalidate their feelings. I don't want to invalidate what they're saying. I don't want to invalidate. Meanwhile, when we go at black men, we just start hitting them upside the head with a hammer. Right? When we address black men, we start hitting them upside the head with a hammer. And oftentimes dismissing or playing down what they're saying. When we address black women, on the other hand, oh no, everything you say is above board, right? We're going to take for granted what you're saying, what you're feeling, how you're acting, and we'll start from there. There's no assumption that what you're saying is about money or power or prestige. There's no assumption about that. There's no assumption that your biggest issue is that you're not a white woman, politically, socially, economically. We assume that black men are attempting to be white men. We assume that black men want to imitate white patriarchy. And so everything they say, we look at them skeptically. Excuse me. We have a skeptical way of viewing what they're saying. We're skeptical. We look at them side eye. Right? When black women speak, right? Believe all women. We assume that what they're saying is above board and what they're saying is in good faith. It's not about, once again, power, prestige, positionality in this society. And by the way, if it is, that's okay. We do live in America. This is a capitalist society. It is ugly out there. But speaking about everything from colorism to desirability, as if it's not, well, about power, prestige, and positionality, is to be disingenuous at best, as I said before, or straight up a liar. And no placeholder says colorism and featureism is black women cannibalizing other black women. Well, right? You can't be part of this club. Right? As I said before, look at how these women mock the word preference while they talk about luxury lifestyles and hypergamy. and yet black men talking preference is a problem. We have entire channels dedicated to black women hunting down potential simp ass men with money, whether that man be white, black, Latino, Asian, or otherwise, but primarily white men. Because the goal of just about every woman in America, white, black, Latina, Asian, or otherwise, is to meet a rich, dumb, green, naive white man. That's the goal. Please make him rich and naive. Please make him rich and naive. That way I could put this vagina on him and it blows his mind and I have him forever or as long as I want him. But I definitely have access to those resources. Right? And the Rudge report says, real quick, it's definitely emotional. They are mad at black men for not making them biracial. They ignore the fact that their mom is black and taught them that they should be with white men. Bro, the hate we get just for existing and not be, you know what black men aren't? Jealous of white men. We could use the money, some of the power. And I promise you, put black men in white men's position, you know what black men probably wouldn't be? Well, abusive. Right? Black men might actually go against their own interests and jigger this in a way that's not so oppressive. Right? To hear these people just rail on over and over again, knowing at the end of the day, the real issue is that they're not upper middle class white women, that they feel like their skin tone is hindering them from being asshole white women, and then watching as our intelligent, our educated class of people in the black community duck and dodge and bob and weave and contort themselves in any which way. Instead of just saying, okay, these sisters are just mad and they're jealous because they feel like the light-skinned black woman gets to be an asshole and they can't. Right? They get to be promiscuous and still potentially get married. They get to be mean, condescending, and snarky, right? Isn't that the complaint about the Latinas? They get to be snarky, and y'all see it as fiery and spicy. That wasn't black men that gave them that stereotype, dumbass. Right? Is it possible that it's not about the European beauty standard, but about dark-skinned black women wanting to practice negative liberty and do it in luxury? Right? And do it in a luxurious way, the way they feel that rich white men provide for rich white women. They want to practice negative liberty and be paid for it. They want to be able to break the rules and no one says anything. When I ended the stream with Dr. T a couple nights ago, I said, you want to be, and I was referring to the ladies, you want to be the rich white woman who walks into the store, the grocery store, with her teacup dog, even though the sign on the grocery store says no dogs allowed. That's what it's about. Your nose in the air, some expensive shades on, your bag on your wrist, right? Your teacup dog in that bag, probably a Louis bag, probably set you back 2, 3. Sorry, I said you. Sorry, set the man back 2, 3, 4, 5 grand. Birkin bag, You want that life, and that's okay, dear black women, dear dark-skinned black women. You want that life. That's what colorism conversation is about. Yes, Nappy Headed Hoba, for the 1 zillionth time on Mr. Z's channel, it is about desirability. It's always been about desirability, and it's probably always going to be about desirability. These people do not concern themselves with the health outcomes of darker skinned people, namely darker skinned black women. They don't concern themselves with the work or labor aspects of being darker skinned. In their mind, they shouldn't be working anyway. They should be stay at home mothers, stay at home girlfriends and wives, kept ass women. Because in their mind, that's what the rich and upper middle class white women gets to live. Right? This is not about darker skinned black women in the workforce. What happens to darker skinned black women when they find themselves on the wrong side of the law? This is not about that. This is about power and positionality. This is about prestige. This is about money. And the 18th letter says, and thank you for the super chat, Chrissy has a degree in marketing. She understands and prey on black women low self-esteem for a dollar by using the same tactics and lies white folks use. And there you go. Right? That's what colorism is about. And conflating colorism and racism does you a disservice. Does black women, darker skinned black women, disservice. It's great that we're having a more honest conversation now, right? Much to black women's chagrin, about what this is really about. And it's about black women not being white women. The entire conversation about black men being dusty and losers is about black men not being white men to make black women white women. And now that we're having a more honest conversation about it, now that puts black men in the position that if they want to be passport bros, they can. And Nappy Headed Hoba, you can't do nothing about it. And as you said, y'all didn't want them anyway. And that's why Mr. Z says, well, date out or date same sex then. Dear darker skinned black women, you got choices. Date out or date darker skinned black women. Excuse me. Well, yeah, you can date darker skinned black women. Date out or date same sex. Right? And from the numbers that we see about same sex loving black women, y'all are trying the same sex thing. Good luck on it. The colorism conversation is about pretty politics. I would like to direct you to Chrissy. Yes, it is. Absolutely. It is pretty politics. Who gets to be pretty and how they're treated. Right? Who gets to be pretty and how that pretty person is treated. These women don't have a problem with the European beauty standard. They have a problem with not being on top of the European beauty standard. They don't believe that everything is everything. We're all attractive. We're all pretty. We're all desirable in our own way, right up until it comes time for men to start picking who they want and then spending money on those women. Uh-oh. Nappy head hobo, you can't decouple colorism from desirability because that's what it's about. That's what the women are truly complaining about. Have fun spending, I don't know, another 2 centuries trying to get them to stop doing it, though. Y'all can keep on doing that kumbaya, we all the world. We're all women and we're all desirable in our own way. Right up until it comes time for men to start picking winners and losers and have fun trying to knock the ability to pick winners and losers out of men's hands. And you are correct, Nappy Hoba. You are absolutely correct. Shaming them will only get them to be a little bit more quiet. That's it. And dear, y'all already got that. Dear Nappy Headed Hoba, y'all already have that. The vast majority of men don't speak about their preferences publicly. And that's nothing wrong with that. They don't speak about what they desire publicly. They don't make a spectacle of shaming, right? Shame women who they don't find desirable because they don't find them desirable. That's not a thing men do. Their actions, though. And that's what y'all really have a problem with. Dear darker skinned black women, you don't have a problem with no black men are tapping you on the shoulder. By the way, you're dark and ugly. That's not a thing. But the way black men move, the way white men move, the way Latino and Asian men move, both South and East Asian, they don't have to say it. You still feel their actions very viscerally. It's visceral. And as I said before, is it your skin tone or is it your attitude? Right? And Volcanus, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you very much. Thank you for the super sticker, brother. Right? And no placeholder says, and I gotta read this one soon, but yeah, no placeholder says, and thank you for the super chat. He says, black women getting rich off of the insecurities of other black women. Of course. Of course. And here's the kicker. It gets even worse than that. That whole lifestyle. Imagine starting a YouTube channel speaking about lifestyle and luxury lifestyle, and you're able to live your luxury lifestyle now primarily because the people that are subscribed to you, your followers, are funding that luxury lifestyle. So yeah, you had your own job, your own career, maybe your own business, and it was bringing some okay money. But now your YouTube channel is bringing in the real money, or the money is comparable, and that's what allows you to really live that luxurious lifestyle, right? And then you show your $2,000 dinner receipt, and you show those expensive handbags, right? And we all see them. You take the picture pose next to the 6-figure car, right? We've all seen it. You take pictures of your expensive sunglasses, excuse me, and accessories. You take pictures with the beautiful scenery because you went on an expensive trip. Lifestyle branding. And if you're a single black woman under the age of 30 who's earning some $75,000, $80,000 a year, let's say you're living at home with your parents, you just became an attorney, you got super lucky, or you went to the right schools and you got in at a firm on the ground floor, but you're still earning $80,000 a year. Yeah, guess what? You can afford that lifestyle. You're at home with mom and dad. You don't got to pay rent for the next couple years. You're 28, 29 years old, earning $80,000 a year, 75. Yeah. You can afford that expensive BMW SUV. You can afford those Louis bags, and you can afford those $2,000 and $3,000 trips. Oh yeah, you can. And God forbid you start a YouTube channel, and that starts bringing you in 20, 30, 40, $50,000 a year. Now you're 80 is 130, and you're only 30. No children, no man, and you're still at home. Or you have a roommate, you're splitting the rent on your apartment that's $2,500 a month. Yeah, you can afford that lifestyle. And you sell that lifestyle to black women, black younger women mainly, who are insecure, who don't know their head from their ass, who are barely making $30,000 a year. Who are drooling off of that. And you sell that to them. And all the angst and anger and jealousy that comes from not being able to live that lifestyle, you direct that energy and all of that anger to black men. So you get to be kumbaya with them because y'all are both XX chromosome black. Meanwhile, you're their class enemy. Meanwhile, you're instigating one day for them to start snapping psychologically. Meanwhile, you're showing off. It's going to cause a complex in many of these women. Want to emphasize this again? Your materialism and consumerism, you are their class enemy. But they don't see that because for them, the black man is the enemy. Go figure. So yes, no placeholder. Black women getting rich off of the insecurities of other black women. And then aligning with them on some, yeah, we're both black women. I'm gonna talk crap about black men in a way, in an articulate way. That way y'all continue to subscribe to me. But I am your class enemy. And you let Chrissy talk. Yeah, I don't like you Negroes either. Yeah, I said it. I don't like you Negroes either. She still got hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Right? Yanni telling you she can keep herself. She's doing well financially. And she still want to be a kept woman. She's your class enemy. Y'all don't hear it though. Paris Milan is straight up defecating in y'all faces with $2,000 dinner dates and showing y'all the receipt. Right? Using the term "naker" about your sons. But y'all don't hear it though, because as long as she defecates on black men, right? Your class enemy gets to be your class enemy as long as they know what rhetoric to use. The black men ain't ish rhetoric. Right? And once again, thank you for the super chat, no placeholder. Big Kev, thank you for the super chat. And he says, Patrice O'Neill said it best. Be politics. Yes. And like Ed said, be Babel. Right? Be politics. Right? The reason why we covered this today is to say, if given enough time, even your supposed most well meaning content creators eventually are going to come out the mouth and call you, dear black man, conquered. Given enough time, yeah, they're going to try to walk that quote unquote fine line. But in reality, whether it's something going on in their personal life, some frustration, something they saw online, triggers them, and they go to making a video, and guess what comes out? Conquered. The conquered males. Conquered by who, Nappy? Nappy had a whole, but conquered by who? Go ahead. Sounded a bit Cynthia G-ish there, right? You sounded like Cynthia G a bit, right? One day, are you going to start talking to us about aborting black male babies? If given enough time, are you going to eventually get there too, Nappy Head and Hoba? Right? Huh. Conquered males. So she reduces men down to males because we don't act the way she think we should act. Once again, ladies, y'all really don't want to have a conversation about what makes an adult male a man, because obviously the other part of that conversation is what makes an adult girl a woman. And if we're going to start doing qualifications, oops. Because I'm not going to call, Mr. Z is not going to call these ladies females. No need. Little girls. Right? Little girls. So on that note, we won't continue too much longer, but yeah, little girls in women's bodies. So yes, Napi Edahoba, to end this out, yes, the conversation about colorism is really about desirability. And that conversation is really about black women not having the opportunity, in their mind, darker skinned black women not having the opportunity to be with the men with the resources. That's what it's about. And Napi Edahoba already knew this. Mr. Z just had to make it painfully obvious. But she already knew this. And I Am Wolf says, this just proved my suspicion. They're all the same. In a way, right? And thank you for the super chat, I Am Wolf. And the Raj report says, how am I supposed to help these O's with their colorism if I'm conquered? And there you go. The hero's journey, which, many of them don't even know what that means. But yeah, it's your job to go through the whole entire hero's journey to come out on the other side. Come out on the other side of the hero's journey, Roz, so that you can elevate her to white woman status so that she could leave you for the white man, right? Or stay with you and buy all of the expensive white man products so she could show off to other black women, right? That's black men's job. Elevate black women to being, and remember, it's not going to be all. If black men recreate white supremacist style patriarchy, then it really will only be what 20%, give or take, of black women. So the goal is to literally flip the world over on its head so that we could put about 20% of black women in America in the position of upper middle class and above, so that they can be snooty a-hole black women looking down their noses at other black women. Right? And instead of the beauty standard being blonde, blue-eyed, right, svelte, borderline white, pubescent boy-shaped white women, I guess it'll be heavy-set, darker skin, 4C curl black women with septum rings. Right? But only about 20% of them really will be upper middle class and above, driving around in their I don't know, BMW X7, Mercedes-Benz GLS, right? Looking down their noses. Oh, by the way, very important, that their husband got them. In this case, their black ballerific husband. Looking down their noses at other black women. But definitely white men. Right? So the goal is to rejigger this entire thing so that black women can look down their noses at other black women, but definitely Latina women, Asian women, and most definitely, more than anything ever, white women. Right? And Big Kev says, and thank you for the super chat, I'm just sick of them lying about most black men. And that's all it is. But how else? Like, how else are they supposed to move? Right? How else are they supposed to move? We can't expect honesty from these people. You can't expect them being genuine because it's going to look ugly. And then that's when society says you get what you get. They have to frame it in a moral way. You can't frame it honestly. Imagine black women really coming out here. Look, man, I need this money. I need this status. It's all about me trying to get to white women's position. I need you to work yourself to the bone. I need you to go to school, go to college, or go to trade school, do what you can do so that we can be high six-figure people, if not multi-millionaire people, just for me and my ego, just so I can look down on white women. Just so I can make my light-skinned cousin that grandma treated better, just so I could look down on her when I walk in the door, showing off, oh, look, this is what my man bought me. Not because you, but because you do. Once again, not because I have you, but what you can afford me. So I need you to be that for me. And if black women started speaking to men in general, obviously both black men, but white men, Latino men, and Asian men, whatever man they end up with, if they started being honest like that, then it would be very clear that they get what they get. But here's the kicker. Black women are saying that through action. They think others don't hear them, right? That's the catch. So, I don't ever see them being honest about this. There's much more to be gained by playing the moral high ground road or playing victim Olympics than to just be honest and come straight up the middle. I'm mad that I don't get to be an upper middle class, rich or elite white woman and get to practice negative liberty like she does. I want to be able to bark on people and be snarky and be mean, and then on the other hand be subtle and imply that they're dumb. I want to have the same type of social power that Karen has. Why can't I get you arrested because I see you as an eyesore? Why can't I nag you until the cops come and make your life miserable or be inconvenient towards you? And that's my way of flexing power. Why can't I do that? And then when people call me out, I act innocent. I act like a damsel in distress. Oh, that's not what I meant. I didn't do that on purpose. Like I just, you're a stranger, and I thought you were a stranger. I didn't know. I didn't know. You're new to the apartment. Why can't I do that? That's what this is about. And that's what the colorism conversation is about. Power, prestige, positionality, and the money. Right? Now, never mind the fact that not all white women get to move this way and not all white women get to move this way all the time. Yeah, they get to flex some of that power on Negroes, but every once in a while, they get caught up and they get embarrassed. And their face is the face of a Karen forever. Right? But yeah, so that's where the delusion comes in. So, on that note, we will pause right here. Um, Love, peace, and chicken grease. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content. I know the Roger Report should be streaming now. It's 10 o'clock. Well, it's 10 o'clock Eastern time. Um, and y'all go check him out. Y'all have a great, great, great rest of y'all day. Right? And yes, Nappy and Hoba. Yes, colorism is about desirability. It's always been about desirability. Right? You cover just about any channel where the young women speak about colorism, and eventually you get to men's wallets. Eventually you get to the resources because that's what it's about and that's what it's always been about. Not saying that what you're saying shouldn't be the primary concern, but it's not. It's about which one of these lames can I get to spend a whole lot of money on me? And is my skin tone and my features and my hair texture, is that hindering me from getting one of these lame simp ass losers to fund my life? And there you go. And on that note, everyone have a great rest of y'all day. Mr. Z out.